Whenever Tesla releases a new vehicle, at least a certain percentage of the population is excited by it. Some of their biggest recent launches were, of course, the Model 3, Model Y, and then the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck was an especially big deal since that truck was very late from Tesla's original release timeline, and it was a car unlike anything shipped at the scale Tesla is producing it at. Many also doubted they would ever make it. Recently, Tesla refreshed the Model 3, and soon the Model Y is expected to receive a refresh, so today I'm going to break down the right way to buy a Tesla. This comes after my experience buying Teslas over the years and recently a Cybertruck, and I'm going to detail all of my regrets there so that you don't have them. Let's get into it. For the Cybertruck, it looks unlike anything else on the road, so many were excited to get their hands on it as soon as possible. Beyond that, Tesla actually did do a lot of great engineering work on that truck, so that led to the popularity of that car soaring at launch. Tesla had a resale clause that prevented owners from reselling their new Cybertruck for a full year, and this was to try and prevent scalping. They also sold it with a $20,000 markup as the Foundation series for almost a full year. Even with that and clauses, used prices of new Cybertrucks soared because people wanted this truck right away. In a sense, we actually saw similar with the Model Y's launch. However, a lot of its high resale prices, a year after its launch, had to do with the overall car market as a whole. Still, it showed a lot that is important to keep in mind when buying a Tesla. Since there are a few new Tesla vehicle launches coming up, there are a few things to keep in mind. Maybe you're looking forward to the Model Y refresh. Maybe you're waiting for whatever Tesla's more affordable vehicle will be in 2025. Either way, keeping these things in mind will be important. They're all things I've learned the hard way when buying Tesla vehicles. First off, when buying a new Tesla, specifically a brand new model, the first cars out of the factory are always the worst quality. In fact, it's this weird confluence where excitement for the brand new car is at an all-time high, so customers are willing to pay more, and yet they are getting the worst built version of this car. For the most part, no matter what, and no matter what company it is, the more something is made, the more they iterate and improve quality. This is especially true for Tesla. I experienced this directly with my 2020 Model Y. It had a number of weird issues I had to get fixed at service, like an alert yelling at me that the front trunk was open when it wasn't. It took 2 service visits to fix that since it was a new issue on a new car. At the time as well, I made a bunch of videos going over all of my issues, but over time, this improved dramatically for the Model Y's build. When I upgraded to a 2022 Model Y, I couldn't believe how big of a difference it was in terms of quality. The car drove better, felt better inside, was put together much better, was quieter, and of course by that point was cheaper to buy new from Tesla. The same has been the case for the Cybertruck, but in an even more drastic way. When Tesla originally announced the Cybertruck, they said it would start at $40,000. For direct comparison, the all-wheel drive model they now sell for $80,000 was supposed to start at $50,000. At launch, however, Tesla sold the Foundation series for $100,000. Double its originally announced 2019 price for this trim, and of course the initial run of trucks are the ones that are seeing the majority of issues. Some were software fixes, but some were physical recalls that required a service visit. There was the faulty pedal recall, where the pedal cover would slide off and keep the car accelerating. There were recalls for wiper motors and a piece on the truck bed trim, and then there was another recall in November to replace drive inverters on about 2,000 trucks. All of these were pretty simple issues, all things considered, but they were of course exclusive to the early run of $100,000 to $120,000 Foundation Series Cybertrucks. By the time Tesla finally started shipping normally priced Cybertrucks, these issues were mostly fixed. This is where I'll talk about my particular regrets with the Cybertruck. I purchased my Cybertruck at what now seems to have been, in retrospect, the worst possible time. Since Tesla had such a backlog of orders for the Cybertruck, I figured that once Foundation Series orders ended, I'd be waiting until 2025 to take delivery. As such, I decided to convert my order to Foundation Series. I ran the numbers on everything the Foundation Series included, like a $2,500 credit for PowerShare, $8,000 FSD package, lifetime premium connectivity, which is usually $100 a year, $3,500 cyber wheels, $2,000 white interior, and various accessories, so I figured the upgrade was worthwhile. However, 2 days later, I received the email from Tesla that I could purchase a Cybertruck at normal pricing. While I do like the wheels and interior I went with, I think saving $20,000 would have been better, or even $12,000 if I had decided to option FSD. Then shortly after this, Tesla added the Cybertruck to the referral program, giving customers a $2,000 discount by using a referral link. In practice, that took the $80,000 price tag down to $78,000. Next up, to make things even a bit worse for me, Tesla started Cybertruck leases at $1,000 per month. For a lease, that's obviously a very high amount, but shortly after this, they dropped it down to $900 a month. This happened around the time that Tesla added the option to buy out a lease at the end of its term length. So that now gives a lot more flexibility, and in the case of the Cybertruck, it can actually make it the cheapest option. For now, the Cybertruck does not have official qualification for the EV tax credit of $7,500, but through the leasing loophole, it does qualify. That means that leasing a Cybertruck can actually end up quite a bit under $80,000 if you buy it out. Dennis CW detailed this on X, showing the math here, and when you try to buy out a Tesla lease, it shows the subtracted tax credit. A referral code works on the lease as well, so you can end up with the total cost still spread out with a lease somewhat under $80,000. Then beyond that, it seems to have become clear that Tesla is going to be pushing Cybertruck sales incentives soon enough. Reports are showing that Foundation Series trucks are stacking up in inventory. They're even debadging some of them to resell them at normal prices, and they have lowered production rates. The Cybertruck just doesn't seem to be selling as well as Tesla had hoped at the moment, so I think end-of-year incentives could hurt even worse for someone like me who bought right before all of these prices dropped. It's a great, extreme, and very clear example of why it's usually smart to wait to buy a new Tesla vehicle. This took only about 1 year for the Cybertruck to receive discounts, be readily available in inventory, and be through initial recalls. So waiting that year absolutely is paying off for some patient owners. The same is likely going to be the case with whatever Tesla's next new cars are. For 2025, we're expecting a couple things to come from Tesla, and first is that Model Y refresh. The reason this is going to be such a big deal is because Tesla has not done much with that car in the last 4 years, at least from a cosmetic perspective. On top of that, all of the upgrades they made to the Model 3 really make that car far better than previous years, so the Model Y will seemingly be much improved where it really matters. Yes, there will be a new design in some ways, but overall it will be quieter, more comfortable, and a smoother ride inside. And that's coming to the world's best-selling car of any type, the car that is currently climbing the ranks in the US and may be the best-selling car here as well soon. For all of those reasons, it is expected that the Model Y refresh will follow Tesla's normal cycle. They are ramped on production very well with that car, so it may be a quick turnaround. In any case, here's what I expect to see from Tesla with the Model Y in 2025. They will announce the refresh, and there will at least be some form of a wait time for customers to get their hands on it. Maybe this will be 3 weeks, maybe this will be 3 months, but once it's announced, all of that pent-up demand from customers waiting will finally be turned into orders, and Tesla will have a backlog as they ramp production back up on this refreshed model. As their orders continue surpassing their production capacity, they will probably raise prices. They do this pretty much any time a vehicle's demand outpaces production, and it may be for $1,000 to $3,000 or so. Tesla will begin deliveries, customers will be excited, but of course, within a number of months, production quality will improve, and as demand evens out with production, they will probably lower prices once again. As far as build quality goes, I will say that since this isn't an entirely new vehicle, there is less concern here. The Model 3 refresh came out of Tesla's factories looking pretty good out of the gate, but still there will be something improved between build 1 and 100,000 of the Model Y Juniper. So if you are particularly cost conscious and really want this car, it does seem that waiting will be the smartest move. It takes a lot of patience, but for some it makes the most sense. Then the odd thing about the timing here is the question of the tax credit. The EV tax credit may be entirely disappearing sometime in 2025, so your timing may be entirely different since you may want to ensure that you buy while the credits are still in place. In response to that disappearing credit, however, we do expect some form of Tesla price reduction to come. Back in 2022, on the cusp of the tax credit being instated in 2023, Tesla was actually offering a $7,500 discount on the Model 3 and Y for new purchases. This was to incentivize people to still buy within the quarter and not wait, so they definitely do not shy away from incentives directly aimed at that credit. Here, it may just be in the reverse order to keep sales going into the future. All of this to say the situation is a bit more complex in 2025, but waiting does always seem to pay off, which brings us to the end of a quarter. Tesla is different than most other automakers in that they sell direct to customer. For most automakers, they can realize their auto sales at the end of a quarter by delivering them to dealers. The dealers then hold them and sell them, but it's separate from the automaker. For Tesla, however, they only realize sales when a customer drives off with the car. In practice, to keep shareholders happy, this leads to an end-of-quarter blitz, delivering huge waves of vehicles to get as good of numbers as they can. Elon Musk has discussed decreasing that end-of-quarter delivery wave in the past, but it just has not happened. In certain quarters, maybe it has been less intense, but it still seems that especially the last quarter of the year has this going on at Tesla. They are trying to deliver vehicles, but are also incentivizing sales with inventory discounts, increased referral discounts, free supercharging, and more. A brief list of the incentives we've seen Tesla implement in this quarter alone include 0% APR financing, which ended on December 15th, 3 months of free FSD and supercharging, free unlimited lifetime supercharging on the Model S after a $5,000 price increase, inventory discounts on certain vehicle trims between $1,000 to $7,500 off, free paid options if you option the FSD package, FSD transfers, and more. I also expect more to pop up as we truly approach the last days of the year. For the most part, if you had ordered at the beginning of the quarter, none of these deals were in place, so waiting can really pay off in a number of ways. Who knows what all will happen, but I imagine the Model Y refresh will be a far better deal come December of 2025 than January of 2025. But hindsight is 20/20, and it really is impossible to time accurately. My general rule for timing of a Tesla is if the car delivers features today that you're happy with at a cost that you're comfortable with, you can't go wrong. Some deal is probably around the corner, but you could be waiting forever for that one. Earlier in this video, for example, when I detailed all of the deals for the Cybertruck, each one would have been enticing in its own way, and I likely would have jumped in once each new one launched. Then if I waited, I would have jumped in after the discount, or I would have when leases were back to $1,000. So it's easy to see my mistakes pile up looking back, but at some point, if I am getting this car, I have to get it. On the other side of things next year is whatever Tesla's more affordable vehicles will be. The latest rumors here are that this will be about a $30,000 vehicle with volume production around the middle of 2025. It will also be about the length of a Mini, 30% lighter than a Model 3 and 15% smaller than one. Thanks to its smaller size, the battery will be able to come down in cost, and it could have a great 310-mile range with a long-range spec. I personally expect the standard range model will have around a 220-mile range. In any case, that car is going to be an especially interesting one, because again, it will probably follow this pattern. Even though it's a more affordable vehicle, it will be brand new and exciting. Orders will probably stack up, and Tesla will be able to charge more for it at launch than they will later. It will be quite a bit different than the Cybertruck in that it is somewhere in the 30,000s instead of 100,000s, so that will mean a lot of actual sales for a long time. This will also be the case because there aren't great alternatives in North America in particular, but it will also be a brand new car for Tesla. That means that initial cars will be popular, more expensive, and have the worst build. They could still have a great build, but will no doubt improve at least a little in time. Then after a year of ramping production there, Tesla could have it efficiently scaled and find that they need to create demand. As such, they will drop prices, introduce incentives, and more. The cycle continues, and this is the cycle of every Tesla vehicle. So of course the advice is that waiting pays off. At the same time, I'm the guy not taking my own advice here. This is in large part so that I can have the latest vehicles to review on this channel, but I always do see this pattern repeat with my own cars. Another great example here that I completely made this mistake with was the Plaid Model S. I purchased that car back in 2021 when pricing was at its peak, and this car, perhaps more than any other Tesla vehicle launch, showcased what happens with pricing over time. That car launched at about $130,000 and may have become the most depreciating Tesla vehicle I've seen. First, it depreciated like a normal car, but it also caught the end of high pricing during that season when cars were in high demand in general. Then its value started decreasing on its own, but Tesla made this significantly worse when they, at the start of 2023, dropped the Plaid Model S's price by $21,000 overnight. Yes, $21,000. This kept lowering over time, bringing the Model S all the way down to $89,990. Today it is increased by $5,000 up to $95,000, but that came with the addition of unlimited supercharging. When looking at used prices on these cars, it's overall pretty crazy to see, and it definitely hurt a lot of owners there. So again, it's the same lesson. They'll charge a lot at launch and the price will come down. Overall, we do want this to happen with electric cars. We want their prices to come down in general, but it's something to keep in mind with its launch. The damage just won't be as bad as something like the Model S when the car is cheaper to start. So massive depreciation like that happens more on their luxury cars. In any case, with all of that said, for the Model Y refresh, it does feel like grabbing a Model Y right before the refresh could be a great opportunity. Also, if you're extremely patient and willing to risk it, it seems likely that Tesla will have some leftover inventory that they need to sell off once that new car is announced. These could have some great discounts. However, that car will probably depreciate quite a bit due to the updated model, and it could even depreciate with the introduction of whatever that cheaper Tesla is coming by the middle of next year. The last thing we'll talk about today is interest rates. We already talked about Tesla's 0% APR financing deal. Something like this could come back at any time. We saw a 1.99% APR deal this year, a 0.99% APR deal, and 0% APR deal. We've also seen $0 down and more, but those are specifically incentives. At the end of the day, when things are normal, Tesla's interest rates are at about 5.99% right now. You may be used to seeing numbers like this, as they've been the rates for some time, but this actually has a huge impact on Tesla's pricing. Higher interest rates means a higher monthly payment, and it can make a significant difference, sometimes hundreds of dollars a month. In practice, this means that if many customers are financing their cars, it's that much harder for Tesla to sell cars, unless they respond by dropping prices. So even though the customer may experience the same overall cost, Tesla has to drop their prices in response to the effects of high interest rates. Right now, analysts predict that new car loan rates should drop sometime in 2025. So if that comes true, it will have an effect on Tesla pricing. Hopefully, it simply means we finally see the alignment of Tesla's lowered prices with lowered loan rates, leading to the lowest monthly payments we've seen for Tesla vehicles. Of course, that all depends on a number of factors, though, and the disappearance of the tax credit could negatively affect these savings, at least for a time. The last thing I'll mention is something my position has changed on, and that's because this particular feature has improved a ton over time. Back in 2020, I purchased my Model Y, but soon after decided to buy Tesla's FSD package. At the time, this was about $6,000 or $8,000, but once I got it, I realized it was not nearly feature complete as I had hoped. At the time at least, my advice would have been for customers to simply skip this package. However, Tesla eventually made a subscription model for this, increased its price up to $15,000, offered transfers, and more. Then in time, it came back down to its current price of $8,000 or $99 per month. That's where this purchase will depend on your particular situation. Tesla's version 13 of FSD is currently starting its rollout, and it's an incredibly impressive piece of technology. I think for many drivers, they'll find that they truly want to use it the vast majority of the time, and that it can really handle most situations in a great way. I just drove from LA to San Diego on FSD 13.2.1 in the Cybertruck, and only intervened once at the very end when it was turning into where I was going. So this package is actually something I'd now consider. With that said, it depends on your particular situation, since this package remains with your vehicle. If you decide to sell your car or upgrade to another Tesla, unless you have a promotion running, the FSD package stays with the vehicle that you have. So in practice, if upgrading to a new Tesla and still wanting this package, you'll need to buy it again at whatever the price is by the time you are selling your car. For some, this may mean that subscribing is the best option. It's $99 a month, so if that price sticks, it would take almost 7 years before you'd be paying $8,000 for this package. Of course, that presumes a lot staying the same for Tesla in the next 7 years, which it never does. But either way, if you plan to sell in 2 or 3 years, subscribing may be the best option. Otherwise, you'll find yourself selling your car and losing FSD like I did on my Model Y. With that said, Tesla does periodically offer FSD transfers, but it's always for a limited time. Right now, this is an option, but it's ending December 31st. Also, since FSD is really getting closer to the dream of the technology with V13, price increases could be around the corner. So if you want FSD and plan to keep your car for a while, buying may actually be smart. So there are a few types of Tesla buyers. You have the early adopter, and of course we need the early adopter. If nobody buys the first run of a new Tesla at the higher price with those potential issues, they won't be able to scale and grow from there. For many watching this channel, however, they may fall into the category of the bargain hunter, wanting to jump into a Tesla purchase but needing to wait until it makes absolute sense and gets them the most comfortable monthly payment. Luckily, I do track this stuff a lot on this channel, so you should be able to stay up to date by watching my videos. I'm always tracking the latest incentives, and it's both a blessing and a curse for myself, since I always know exactly how much better of a deal I could have gotten by waiting X number of days. The main lesson I've learned the hard way, though, is never rush into buying a Tesla during a hype cycle, unless you're prepared for potential regrets when prices drop and incentives improve. Then, if you're buying a new Tesla model, always check videos, forums, inventory trackers, and Tesla's own website before pulling the trigger. This can literally save you thousands of dollars, since if you order a car without a referral link, it's too late. If you do, it can save you $2,000. Waiting just 6 months after a new model launch can often save you thousands as well and ensure you get a better built car. But if you're happy with what's available now and at a cost you can afford, go for it, because at the end of the day, driving a Tesla is its own reward for many customers. I hope this video was helpful for you if you're looking to purchase a Tesla. I'm excited to see what 2025 brings from them, and in the meantime, if you want to see the latest Tesla news, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.